dodge bullets, baby.
This is beyond fairy tale. It's inconceivable.
There it is. Doyle's done it.
Eastgate steps into poker history.
This is the greatest sport in the world.
They are among the few who have done it. They have what every poker player wants. They are main event champions. And tonight, 10 of them gather for one special event, the first ever Champions Invitational.
I think it is special.
We all want to win.
It'll mean a lot. It's just a great event.
Among them, the current champ.
Peter Eastgate is our main event champion.
The one who's taken home more bracelets than any other.
Helmuth wins the championship.
The man who some say holds the greatest main event achievement.
Last year, a third. This year, a fourth. Incredible.
And the living legend who still shows no sign of letting up.
10 bracelets for Doyle Brunson.
10 world champions, but only one will be crowned the champion of champions. This is the 40th annual World Series of Poker Champions Invitational. Welcome once again to the 2009 World Series of Poker presented by Jack Link's Beef Jerky. I'm Lon McCarran with Norman Chad. What an historic photo to continue the celebration of the 40th annual World Series of Poker. 20 main event champions came to the Rio to play in this Champions Invitational. Among them, two-time champ Johnny Chan, Scotty Wynn, Joe Hashem,
Hey, buddy.
Greg Raymer, and Chris Moneymaker. But for these men, another victory was not in the cards. And now, 10 champions have made it to this prestigious final table, and they are vying for a 1970 Corvette Stingray, the Binion Cup, and the title Champion of Champions. And as action is set to begin at this unique final table, Norman, let's take a look at the players.
1989 champ Phil Hellmuth is a short stack with just 1% of the chips in play. 1986 champ Berry Johnston has some work to do as well with just 3% of the chips. 2002 winner Robert Varkonyi has 13,450 chips.
1996 champ Huck Seed has 15,400. Defending main event champ Peter Eastgate has just over 18,000. 95 champ Dan Harrington has 10% of the chips.
Two-time champ Doyle Brunson is fourth in chips with just over 20,000. 1993 winner Jim Bechtel has over 30,000.
While Tom McEvoy is currently second in chips with 31,000, and the Matador, Carlos Mortensen, is the chip leader with over 42,000.
Phil Hellmuth with just 3 chips left, so he better get the rants out of his system early.
Say, Phil, we got our usual last longer bet, don't we?
Barry, you offered me a last longer bet? I better pass this time.
Even Phil Hellmuth recognizes his mortality.
Everybody get out and give it to Phil.
Doyle lobbying for charity for Phil Hellmuth right there.
There were 20 players in this Champions Invitational. Doyle beat a field of 22 when he won his first main event in 1976.
Carlos Mortensen on the Jack Link's Beef Jerky Pocket Cam.
I love beef jerky.
Pocket deuces for the Matador.
Oh, leave Phil stay in. Come on.
Here it is. This is what the big stack against the little stack.
Maybe Phil throw it away.
I might.
Maybe Phil is going to start yelling at Carlos about being an idiot from Western Europe.
Well, Carlos raised enough to put Phil all in.
I think Phil has to come along here.
He's thinking about it, though. What's he got? 10 and 5, suited.
Well, let me see. I can ante off, wait fourth, get 3. I can't even think about
There's
it.
no decision.
You can throw it away one time.
I have Woolworths, baby.
You okay?
Oh, baby!
You okay?
Woolworths and suited.
The year Carlos won the main event in 2001, Phil finished 5th.
I like it.
I like 10-5. Dreams can be true.
Just give him a deuce right away if he's going to win.
If he's up against a pocket pair, Phil's happy to see the
I'm
deuces.
going to win. Give me a 10 on the river.
Hellmuth all in with 2 overs. Here's the flop. 4 Queen Jack. That's all good for Carlos.
Yes.
This is me, you know.
Here are the 4.
Phil not usually in this good of a mood when he's about to go bust. My talks are paying off.
Turn card is an ace. Phil with a gut shot straight draw.
It's hard to beat those name hands, I tell you. I mean, it's hard.
Woolworths, man.
It's hard to beat a name hand.
10 out.
5 and 10 store.
I like your hand at this point.
10 out.
I like my hand, Carlos. I feel like I'm going to hit it.
3.5 to 1.
I think a 10's coming.
Helmuth needs a 5, a 10, or a king for a straight. Otherwise, he's done.
River card is an 8 of diamonds, and he is done. Phil Hellmuth eliminated in 10th place from this Champions Invitational.
And looky here, Hellmuth with a kind and gentle exit. It looks like the intervention worked.
Carlos? Nice hand, Carlos.
Good hands.
So the Matador makes his final table safer for all, but with this tough lineup, no one can afford to feel at ease.
Norman, when 20 main event champions play in one invitational event, you can count on an impressive final table. And even with Hellmuth's 11 bracelets gone, there's still 30 scattered around the table. This is quite a lineup vying for the title Champion of Champions.
So how can I pick a champion when everyone's a champion? Easy. I'm sticking with my old guys, Action Dan and Texas Dolly. Dan Harrington wrote the book on No Limit Hold'em. And Doyle Brunson's been around so long, he once bluffed Jesus, and I'm not talking about Chris Ferguson. Mark my words, one of these two will be driving out of here in that Corvette. So stay off the roads.
Well, I've never seen Doyle drive, and I don't believe Dan even has a driver's license, so good advice from you, my friend. Lines at 200, 400.
Now that we got rid of the riffraff, can we play some poker?
You're ever a poker player's envy now, Carlos. You broke Phil.
Busting Phil could be a reality show. Heck, you could put it on pay-per-view.
Action on Peter Eastgate. He has 8-7 of spades.
Eastgate said he took pleasure in beating Hellmuth's record as youngest main event winner because Phil cares about it so much and he doesn't.
Eastgate with a raise to 1,025. Action to Harrington with pocket aces. Harrington facing a raise, and he is going to re-raise to 3,000. Doyle folds.
Eastgate caught with his hand in the cookie jar, and Peter's so young he still eats cookies.
I'm on.
Ouch.
Eastgate pushes with 8-7 of spades, and Harrington has to call.
A man has to make a stand sometime in his life. Might as well do it with the best hand.
Bad timing for Eastgate to make a move.
Oh, make a stand.
I like that play.
Yeah.
You know you always have a shot with that hand, you know?
Yeah. Believe me, I don't want to see that. I don't even have the ace of spades.
Actually, suited middling connectors are the best hand you can have to crack pocket aces.
It's a gamble.
All right, here's the flop. It is 5, 6, 8, a pair of 8s and an up and down straight draw.
The aces are threatened.
The worst flop I could almost ask for.
Backdoor flush, we got everything working here.
I want the king of hearts.
No, you want a 5 or a 6.
Yeah, that's true. 5 of hearts.
Virtually a coin flip now, as you can see from the percentages.
All right, Eastgate trying to double up. Turn card, Jack of clubs, no help to the defending main event champ.
I'm going back to a comfortable favorite again.
Eastgate looking for a 4, 7, 8, or 9, or he is wamboozled.
A lot of outs, but the king of clubs is not one of them. Peter Eastgate knocked off in 9th place.
How's that? I get in with aces and I'm a slight dog.
Man, I thought you had it on that flop.
The two youngest players ever to win the main event are the first gone here. I'm telling you, it's an old man's game.
So Action Dan adds more to his stack. He's now in 2nd place with over 36,000. 8 champions left. It's going to be a fun night of poker.
The World Series of Poker, presented by Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Champions Invitational.
Back inside the Rio, we are down to 8 players at this Champions Invitational final table. Dan Harrington just knocked off reigning world champ Peter Eastgate.
That is a great flop for him.
No kidding. How about if he just calls and then we play the hand out?
The hard part is getting those aces. Once you're over 50, right, you can't get them.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of truth to that. You'll find out.
That's what they're saying. I mean,
that's what we're telling them.
These young guns, they think that that's the better hand than the aces. See, all these old guys.
Plenty of poker experience and talent here, but nobody has more experience than Texas Dolly himself. Of course, it was back in the 70s with his back-to-back main event wins that the legend first made his mark at the World Series.
I considered myself the best player back then. I felt like it was supposed to happen. In 1976, I think there was 22 entries. It was a tough field. I beat Jesse Alto. I broke him with the 10 deuce. The next year, it was 34 in the event. Again, it was all the best pros. And I jumped off to a big lead the first day, and I never relinquished it. I beat Bones Berlin. And funny enough, the 10 deuce was born again, and So that's the Doyle Brunson hand, which I really don't like that. But if it comes to me like 2 or 3 times, I do play it once just to carry on the legacy. There wasn't any media explosion about it. It was, you know, just completely reversed from today where everybody's looking for publicity. I didn't want any. I thought it would embarrass my family. I was still living in Texas, and they considered you to be a second-class citizen if you played poker.
How many pots did I win? All 6?
Even today, it's hard for me to realize, you know, celebrity status and everything, because I don't think of myself that way. It's flattering, but I'm not an entertainer. I'm a poker player.
Doyle, of course, one of only 4 players to win the main event at least twice, along with Johnny Moss, Stu Unger, and Johnny Chan. And only 2 players have ever finished runner-up in the main event twice, Dewey Tomko and that man, 6-time bracelet winner, TJ Cloutier.
That's a lot of bracelets.
Yeah.
Doyle's got 10 of them, even with skipping a few years of the World Series.
How many do you have? 4 or something?
I got 4. What do you got, 5?
No, I got 2.
2.
TJ supposedly has won more tournaments than anybody else.
Yeah. Tom McEvoy used to claim that.
I think he did. Well, they're partners.
Tom and TJ have co-authored a number of poker instructional books.
Actually, we have a lot of poker authors here. McEvoy, Doyle with Super System. Dan Harrington has his Harrington on Hold'em series.
Action on the chip leader, Carlos Mortensen with pocket 10s. Blinds are now at 3 and 600. Carlos limps in. McEvoy now, also with pocket 10s. Tom will raise it up to 3,000.
McEvoy's written a dozen books. I've got a poker book coming out, How to Lose Your Bankroll Slowly.
All right, action folds around to Doyle Brunson in the small blind with ace-king.
A call and a raise in front of him.
And Doyle mucks ace-king pre-flop.
Wow, Doyle playing it a bit snug in his golden years.
So back to Mortensen now.
Carlos had just limped in with his 10s. McEvoy made a big raise with his 10s.
Carlos calls for 2,400 more, so pocket 10s for McEvoy and Mortensen to the flop. The flop is a couple of 4s and a tray. Looks like a split pot. Carlos with a 10 of hearts is a slight favorite.
Doyle would have missed the flop. As usual, he's smarter than me.
Mortensen, first to act, and he checks.
Both of them eyeing each other.
Tom looks like he'll take a stab. Makes it 5,000.
That's 2/3 the size of the pot. Pretty big bet. And pause for concern for Carlos Mortensen.
The 01 world champ will make a raise to 10,000.
I like that raise from Carlos.
All in.
And Tom comes back over the top, all in.
Well, I don't like it now.
Wow.
Carlos a check raised, probably putting McEvoy on a continuation bet with a big ace or a heart draw. But now he's got to worry that McEvoy has a big pocket pair.
Carlos Mortensen mucks his 10s. So Mortensen and McEvoy had the same hand, but Tom had position. He'll take the pot.
And to the aggressor go the spoils. And the Matador was gored.
Did you have 2 hearts, Tom?
Nope.
Did not. Good lay down.
Good lay down. 10's not good, right?
No, they were good.
10s were very good for the new chip leader, Tom McEvoy, with over 41,000. And Carlos slips down to just under 33,000. Well, these former world champions are playing for that. The Binion Cup, named in honor of the Binion family, who started it all back in 1970. Time now for the Jack Link's Beef Jerky Wild Card hand, where we conceal one player's hole cards and you at home can play along and try to figure out what they have. Dan Harrington has ace-queen suited.
Well, this is where I get to put my thinking cap on, Lon. I've got 2 of them, one for poker, one for parking.
Harrington with a raise, 3 times the big blind to 1,800.
Those were raising cards. I agree with them.
Fold it over to Carlos Mortensen. And Carlos has the Jack Link's wild card hand. From the small blind, his cards are good enough to call.
Hey, Carlos, he's the one that beat you, not me. Don't pick on me.
I'm playing it slowly.
I think Carlos has a small pocket pair or maybe King Jack suited.
Mortensen Harrington to the flop, couple of trays and an 8. Mortensen first to act. And he checks his mystery cards.
That tells me nothing, so I want Dan to be a man, put a continuation bet out there. Be a man!
Nope, he checked.
I don't know what Carlos has. Maybe you all at home now.
Turn card now, 4 of spades.
You bet to get information. When you check, you don't get any information. So me and Dan don't know what Carlos has right now.
Carlos checks again.
Well, I no longer think Carlos has a pocket pair. Come on, Dan, let's bet and get some info. Be a man, Dan.
Dan checks.
He's not much of a man.
Yes, he is. 95 champ. River card is a 9 of clubs.
Well, Dan doesn't know what Carlos has right now. I don't know what he has. Maybe Carlos doesn't even know what he has.
Oh, Carlos was reaching for chips. 2,500.
That bet confuses me. We have no information up to now thanks to No Action Dan. Carlos either has a monster or he has squad douche. Harrington only has ace high. He is getting almost 3-1 on his money to call here, so if he's right just half the time, it's worth it.
Harrington makes the call.
Good call.
And Carlos turns over 7-6 of clubs, and ace high is good for Harrington. He guessed correctly on the Jack Link's beef jerky wild card hand. How about you at home?
You need one more card, Carlos.
One more card, yeah, that's
After the river, Carlos had flush and straight draws. Norman, he needed that ocean card you've talked about. Dan Harrington on the uptick. He's over 38,000 chips. Back at the Rio, there's the 1970 Corvette Stingray that one of our remaining 8 players will drive away tonight. As we look at the chip count, Tom McEvoy in the driver's seat right now, Robert Varkonyi and Berry Johnston, the 2 short stacks. Carlos Mortensen is in 4th place, but since he knocked off Helmuth in the first hand, things have not been going too well for him. But things going quite well for Dan Harrington, who actually would not have qualified to play in this tournament if things had worked out the way he wanted back in 1995.
I won like $250,000 in the $2,500 event 2 days before the big event. Those days, you played straight through one day. No ifs, ands, or buts. So I was looking to leave Vegas because, quite frankly, I was too tired. I didn't feel like playing in another event, especially one that was going to start 2 days later. You have to understand that tournament play was not where the action was for cash game players. We just didn't like the volatility. We didn't like the fact that it would take God knows how many tournaments before you got lucky enough to do well in one.
Dan re-raises.
But I found out I couldn't cash my $10,000 ticket out because they don't take them back.
This is it. Dan calls.
This is it. Dan calls.
So they forced me to play in the final event.
Dan Harrington's our 1995 world champion.
All right. Obviously, I changed my opinion a bit. There's nothing like success to change your mind about something.
In 1971, Dan was the Massachusetts State Chess Champion. In 1980, he was the World Cup of Backgammon Champion. And of course, in 95, he was the main event champion. That's the Triple Crown.
All right, 8 players remaining. Action begins with Berry Johnston, the short stack.
Johnston's 4th lifetime for World Series cashes, and he once owned a nightclub, which is kind of hard to believe because I can't imagine Berry in a nightclub.
Everyone folds over to chip leader Tom McEvoy. McEvoy with pocket jacks.
McEvoy was an accountant in Michigan, got fired, and came to Las Vegas in 1979 with a 5-year plan and $5,000 in cash. Good plan. He won the main event in 1983.
McEvoy raised it up to $2,000. Action on Dan Harrington, Jack 10 of spades. Harrington makes the call. Now Doyle, ace deuce of hearts.
In the big blind. Doyle actually has 9.5 bracelets. In 1979, he won the mixed doubles event with Starla Brody.
So 3 champions will see the flop. McEvoy's pocket jacks are best right now. And the flop is 8-10-7. McEvoy's jacks are still ahead. He's got a gut shot straight draw. Harrington with top pair. Same gut shot as Tom. Doyle with the nut flush draw. Doyle first to act. And he makes it 6,000 to stick around.
20.
Tom raises the 20,000 with the best hand.
By the way, when McEvoy won the main event, Doyle Brunson finished 3rd that year.
Harrington folds.
I guess I priced myself into this one. I call.
Doyle
You all in?
calls all in.
Unfortunately, I am.
Doyle at risk, holding the nut flush draw. His friend Mike Carroll on the left, a poker author, the mad genius of poker.
Doyle is priced in, but he's calling off all his chips on a draw. I don't remember that being mentioned in Super System 1 or 2.
All right, so Doyle Brunson against the pocket jacks of the chip leader, Tom McEvoy. Poker pro Kathy Liebert, once a student of McEvoy's. They've remained friends.
Going for an ace.
Running 9-jack.
That'd work.
Jack's going to be difficult. I had one.
I had one too, so.
I had one, 5 jacks in the deck.
Jack what?
10.
Now it's a battle of the old-fashioned cowboy hats. Doyle at risk.
All right, turn card now. King of spades, no help to Doyle Brunson. Doyle knows, as does Mike Carroll, that Doyle's a 3-to-1 dog here. Kathy Liebert knows her buddy McEvoy's way ahead.
Tom McEvoy poised for the knockout. Doyle Brunson needs an ace or a heart, or he is done at the Champions Invitational.
And the river card, a 4 of clubs. Tom McEvoy and his pocket jacks knock off 2-time world champ Doyle Brunson.
Good job.
Doyle deservedly always gets the warmest exits in the business. He'll be okay, Lon. He'll find a game out on the street.
And I'm sure we will see Doyle back in this room for the main event. So Tom McEvoy extends his chip lead. He's now over 71,000. Two-time world champ Doyle Brunson was key in building a poker to where it stands today, but he is a very competitive man, and he hates to walk away from any poker table without winning.
The World Series of Poker, 40th Annual Memories.
Stu Younger, winning back-to-back and then coming back over a decade later and winning the event again. I don't think you can beat that.
Clearly, he was really suffering the effects of his demons and his addiction. And for him to just put it all together and to win it again in 1997, for me, I think that's the most amazing accomplishment.
Stu Unger has won 3 World Series of Poker. Incredible.
It was impossible for him to win it, and somehow he won it. You know, it was just absolutely miraculous.
Stu Unger died in 1998 at the age of 45. He had won 10 of 32 tournaments he had entered with a $5,000 buy-in or higher. Wow.
I hope that's not a bad sign.
This is your penny?
Sure is.
Oh, Tom McEvoy knocked over his lucky charm. That's the Speak No Evil monkey with a lucky penny inside.
Every monkey I ever knew talked a lot of trash.
So far it's worked. He's the chip leader. Action on Carlos Mortensen. He started this final table as the chip leader, ace-6 offsuit.
I don't like that hand. My motto this year, Lon, there's no place for an ace.
He limps in. Robert Varkonyi with pocket kings. That's a great hand. At the 2002 main event final table, Robert lost nearly 2/3 of his chips on the very first hand. Came back and won it. McEvoy with ace-queen.
I don't like ace-queen. I don't like ace-rag. It's personal.
From the small blind, he calls for 2,200 more. Carlos needs a few more chips to make the call, and he folds.
Yeah, right now, Varkonyi looks more like Paul Schaefer than Robert Varkonyi with this look.
Good point. All right, here's the flop. 5, queen, 10. Varkonyi still best with his kings. McEvoy has a pair of queens.
Well, see, that's a great flop for ace-queen, and he's crushed like a Sicilian grape.
McEvoy checks.
All in.
Varkonyi pushes all in, and Tom calls right away to put Varkonyi at risk.
Queen 10, you got,
Tom sees he's in trouble. Robert in good shape for a double-up. That's Robert's wife, Olga Varkonyi.
If she had met me first. Kathy Liebert did meet me first and just walked away.
It's nothing for you. Pocket change.
yeah, if I get rid of a player, get another dangerous player bites the dust.
This is a clash of 2 main event champions who don't always get a lot of respect.
All right, turn card now. Varkonyi at risk. That pairs the board. Kings up for Robert.
Varkonyi in great shape here to double up.
Olga has 1 main event cash. Kathy has finished 17th twice in the main event.
McEvoy needs an ace or a queen to knock off Varkonyi.
River card is another 5, a full house for each, but Varkonyi is better, and he doubles up.
The perfect trap hand, so I needed some chips.
That's why I hate that hand.
I hated it first.
Well, Olga's happy that Tom played the ace-queen.
You got chips. You still got chips.
Yeah, indeed, not too bad of a hit for McEvoy. Still currently in pole position in the quest for that Corvette. Almost 400 horsepower into that big hood, Norman. All right, let's take a look at the chip count. Indeed, McEvoy still first. Harrington not far behind. Varkonyi up to almost 20,000. Berry Johnston looking for a quick double up.
Dan Harrington won the main event in 1995, and the next year when Huck Seed won, Harrington finished 17th.
Action Dan Harrington with pocket aces again.
Were you allowed to get him twice when you're over 50?
I'm not sure.
He's over 60, isn't he?
Yeah.
Jeez.
A raise to almost 4 times the big blind. He makes it 2,300. Jim Bechtel with Queen Jack of Hearts in the big blind.
Bechtel in 1993 was only the second amateur to win the main event. Hal Fowler won it in 1979.
Bechtel comes along, and he'll go heads up with Harrington. The flop is Jack 7-10. Harrington still leads. Bechtel with a pair of jacks. Dan first to act with his aces. That's 3,000.
In 93, Bechtel actually went to the bathroom during a hand against Mansour Matloubi. He raised pre-flop and announced he would call if anyone raised him. He then went to the John, came back, and knocked Matloubi out in the hand.
How do you know that? They didn't have poker blocking back then. King of Hearts on the turn. Aces are still good for Dan, but a royal flush draw for Bechtel.
Oh, straight flush draw line. My body is quivering.
Action on Harrington, though. Got to be a little bit worried about that board. He checks.
By the way, if Jim Bechtel was ever stuck in an elevator with, say, Berry Johnston, I don't think either one would ever call for help.
They are quiet people. Bechtel on the draw, bet 7,000.
Jim's got to bet there. You know, his jacks might be the best hand, and he obviously has the best draw.
Harrington now.
Not an easy call for Dan. A lot of hands can beat him now.
Yeah, definitely giving this some pause for thought, but he does call.
I believe they both are screaming on the inside.
River card now, tray of clubs, harmless to Harrington. He earns the check mark. But he checks.
Bechtel missed all his draws, but can he win it here with a bet?
Just a pair of jacks, and he checks back. Harrington shows the aces, and he does survive on the slings and arrows.
Bechtel decided not to fire another bullet there. Harrington takes down the pot.
How many aces you really get?
I'm an easy read when the money gets.
He's always up against the World's Fair draw, though.
Yeah, he's not the worst.
Well, Action Dan's aces hold up again, and this time they have given him the chip lead. He's over 64,000. Berry Johnston does not receive as much press as a lot of other poker players, but sports quite a resume. 5 bracelets, a record 10 main event cashes, and a member of the Poker Hall of Fame. Action on Berry right now. He's got Queen Jack of Spades and raises to 2,000. Carlos Mortensen, pocket sixes. Carlos trying to make some sort of chip castle, but he doesn't have that many chips. A re-raise to 5,000.
When Johnston won the main event in 1986, he went all in on the final hand with ace-10 against Mike Hearthcock's ace-8. Berry's ace-10 held up, but there's no record of the board cards. This must have been pre-ESPN because we wouldn't have missed that.
We would have known. Berry calls the 3,000. They go to the flop, 7-8 king. Mortensen still has the best hand. Johnston the best drawing hand.
Well, Berry doesn't even have 4 big blinds left, so this is an all-in flop for him.
Yep, and Berry will move it all in.
Yeah, 3,000.
Final 3,000. And Carlos will call to put Berry Johnston at risk. Berry looking for help. He's got a flush draw and 2 overs to Carlos.
I like your hand, Berry. I guess mine so. The draws haven't been getting there, but I think it's about time one of them did, probably. That's a lot of wins.
Berry's almost a 3-2 favorite to stay alive here, but Mortensen's pair of sixes are best right now.
All right, turn card now. 9 of clubs. Both players now with a straight draw.
Boy, how can Berry Johnston miss? He's got the World's Fair draw now. A queen, jack 10, or spade is good for Johnston. Otherwise, he's gone.
River card is another king, and Carlos Mortensen with kings up eliminates Berry Johnston in 7th place.
Berry Johnston, 73 years old, has cashed in a World Series event 26 straight years. A quiet class act.
Berry finished 113th in the 07 main event. He's still got his poker chops. Carlos Mortensen able to get a few chips back there. He's now up over 35,000. And action continues, and it is on the Matador. Carlos Mortensen looks down at ace-9 offsuit.
I don't like ace-9 either. I don't like ace anything, okay? There's no place for an ace.
You are grumpy today. Carlos raises with his ace-9.
Carlos, the only hatless champion remaining in the field.
Action over to Dan Harrington in the big blind. Dan with 7-6 offsuit.
You know, it's amazing Dan wears the green cap and he wears it askew, like he's a rapper.
Well, he makes the call. We know he can win with aces. Now we're going to see if this guy can really play poker with 7-6 offsuit. Flop is 8-4-9. Carlos with top pair. Harrington with an up and down straight draw.
Both Mortensen and Harrington played chess before they got into big-time poker.
Dan checks.
Well, I would bet if I were Carlos, and then I would call if I were Dan.
All right. Carlos does bet 3,500.
Okay, see, I said that he would bet.
Yeah.
And then I would call if I were Dan.
Harrington makes the call.
See? I think like champions do.
All right, here we go to the turn card. Turn is a 5, and Harrington earns the check mark. He hits the straight.
But 3 clubs on the board could slow either player down.
He's not action Dan for nothing. 6,000.
See, Mortensen has top pair, top kicker, and drawing very dead. My campaign against the ace is picking up some early steam, huh?
Mortensen wastes little time in making the call.
Those are chips he will never see again in this or any subsequent lifetime.
River card now is an ace, and Mortensen with aces up. That might cost him some chips, Norman.
The turn was a disaster for Carlos. The river is worse. I don't see how Carlos can get away from aces up.
Harrington with a straight and the check mark. Reaching for chips, but he checks. That's sneaky.
I'm surprised Dan didn't bet there. I guess he expects Carlos to.
Maybe he thinks Carlos has an ace and hit that river. Carlos has chips in his hand. 8,000, about a third of the pot.
It's a little less than what I wanted you to bet, but all right.
Dan makes the call.
Dan calls the 8,000.
Ace is up.
Ace is up. Not good enough here.
No check raise from Dan, but clearly he thought he wouldn't get a call. This way, he got to see what Carlos has.
Carlos down to about 16,000, and for Harrington, well, that was page 342, volume 1 of Harrington on Hold'em.
Well, I told you Doyle or Dan would win. Here comes Dan.
Yeah, Harrington over 76,000. This man knows Hold'em.
The World Series of Poker, presented by Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Champions Invitational.
Back inside the Rio, there you see the banners of all the past main event champions on the walls here in the Amazon room. But right now, 6 of them are battling for the Binion Cup at this Champions Invitational final table. And on the Jack Link's Beef Jerky pocket cam,
Beef Jerky.
Carlos Mortensen with Jack 10 off. He limps in for 800. Tom McEvoy. Pocket 4s. Tom says he plays on the internet and studies the game every day. Says these whiz kids of today are showing him nothing new. McEvoy called for 800. Folded to Harrington with Queen 4 of hearts.
Poker is a game of misdirection. Harrington says you make your easiest money when you make plays that are the opposite of your normal style. That means you shouldn't ever trust Dan.
Dan limped in from the small blind. Bechtel in the big blind. King 6 of hearts. And he checks his option, and we have 4 players going to the flop, and the flop is 5-4-7. McEvoy hits a set of 4s. Dan Harrington almost drawing dead, as is Carlos Mortensen. Bechtel with an up and down straight draw. Dan checks. Bechtel with that draw, he checks. Mortensen checks as well. Now McEvoy, who hit the set, wants to thin the field. A bet of 3,000.
Yeah, if Tom McEvoy had checked there, I believe we would have had to remove him from the table.
Harrington folds. Bechtel with the straight draw. Will come along.
If Carlos Mortensen calls here, I believe we'll have to remove him from the table.
Carlos does fold, so Bechtel and McEvoy will see a turn card. 6 of clubs. McEvoy still in command. Up and down straight draw on the board, but McEvoy with a straight flush draw.
Another straight flush draw? Hold me, Lon. Hold me.
Easy, boy. Bechtel checks. McEvoy checks behind him. River card is a 10 of clubs. McEvoy hits a baby flush. He's got the 4 of clubs. Bechtel with a pair of sixes. Bets 4,000.
Bechtel is a rock. He is trying to steal it here. Just about any club would beat McEvoy, but he's getting 3-1 on a call here. So if Tom's right, half the time calling this spot, it's a profit maker for him.
I thought you had ace queen.
Kind of a crying call, but it's going to be good enough.
You got the best in.
And so McEvoy will take down Bechtel and win that pot.
Bechtel's bet was fishy, and his chip stack now is iffy.
McEvoy on the uptick. He's got 64,000 chips right now. He told us how much it would mean to win this very special event, but it's not the only special event going on to commemorate the 40th Annual World Series of Poker. In this edition of The Nuts, we see who's next to advance to the finals of our trivia competition.
Welcome to the 40th Annual World Series of Poker Trivia Show. Today's contestants are Jennifer Harmon, Howard Lederer, and David Williams. And now, here is our host, Norman Chad.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Chuck Woolery is on assignment this week, so I'll be your main man. Let's take a look at your categories. They will be 2008, poker feats, and is poker a sport?
Poker feats for 200.
Everyone knows that Helmuth, Brunson, and Chan have the most career World Series bracelets. This player is next. Howard Lederer.
Johnny Moss.
Johnny Moss is correct. I thought that was above your capabilities. 2008 was a breakthrough for this player of the year as he finally shed the title Best to Never Win a Bracelet. David Williams.
Eric Lindgren.
Eric Lindgren is correct. Eric already has lost that bracelet on a sports bet.
I'm gonna go with the Lakers.
I have no clue.
Andy Duke.
17.
Ted Forrest. Phil Ivey.
St. Louis Cardinals.
He was the only player to win 2 bracelets in 2008. Jen.
John Pham.
John Pham is correct. And Jen Harmon, you are moving on to the next round. Congratulations.
Norman, I have to say this. If this poker thing does not work out, you could be Family Feud bound.
I'm told if Jay Peterman doesn't work out, indeed, I am the next in line.
And look who's back here.
Are you playing the stud?
No, I'm not going to play the stud.
You cannot win another tournament if he's not holding.
Oh, that might not sit well with Phil.
Omaha.
Omaha 8 or better, I could win. Or Omaha pot limit. I've made a second or third in every tournament at the series.
But you don't win one, yeah, right?
I know. Thanks for reminding me, Carlos.
For those of you who didn't understand that exchange, Carlos reminding Phil Hellmuth that he has never won a non-Hold'em World Series bracelet.
Carlos with King, Queen of Diamonds. He held King, Queen suited when he beat Dewey Tomko heads up to win it all in 2001. A raise to 2,200. Huck Seed now with King, Jack.
At the 96 main event, Huck got there late, was told he couldn't play, but then someone busted quick and they gave him a seat, and then Huck won the whole thing.
Huck is all in.
Oh, you called me so fast you got me beat. No, I don't. I haven't. You have that one? So I got you.
Oh, he got you. That's
yeah, Mortensen has Seed dominated.
yeah, but when he said I got you.
Huck looking for some help.
Not the spot you want to get your money in there, Phil.
I would have moved in with King Jack, especially against Carlos.
It's no bad move against me, eh? Yeah, you're right. It turned out to be. But you forget something, I was sure.
I'm sorry, does Phil have nowhere else to be?
Let's just chop it. I like my chances here.
Huck Seed at risk. Mortensen a 3-1 advantage going to the flop. Here's the flop, and there's a queen for Carlos.
How does he make a flop? How am I going to win this one? 10 ace, 10 9. Oh, no. Jack, Jack.
Huck all but out of here now.
10 is your best card there. I need a 10.
He needs more than a 10. We all need more than a 10.
Turn card is a Jack. Oh, life for Huck Seed.
Back alive. 2 outs.
Well, if Huck finishes Jack, Jack, he can stay alive. Only a Jack keeps Huck Seed at the Champions Invitational.
And the river card is a deuce. Huck Seed gone in 6th place. Carlos Mortensen doing the dirty work.
Good luck. I give you a ride in my car. Oh, okay.
No way, Carlos. That car's going to my man, Dan.
Thanks, oh, you came just in time. How did you know?
What are you going to do? You going to play the stud?
No.
No? Why not?
Too worn out.
Too worn out? The World Series just started.
So Carlos finds new life with Huck's chips as Huck heads to the rail. We are down to 5 at this Champions Invitational. Welcome back to the Rio. 5 players remain here at the Champions Invitational. The chip count has Dan Harrington on top. Carlos Mortensen with a few more chips to work with. Jim Bechtel hanging on with about 12 big blinds. Action on Carlos Mortensen. King, Queen of Hearts. He likes to play a lot of hands, but he's getting hands.
Raise it.
Carlos going to raise it to 2,200.
It's about time you played a pot.
Carlos was internet aggressive before there was internet poker.
Folded over to Bechtel with pocket 7s.
Bechtel's a farmer in Arizona.
He farms cotton, grains, and alfalfa. And with his pocket 7s, he's all in. His final 9,800.
It would be about 1/3 of Carlos' chip stack.
I'm running very good with this card, so.
Carlos trying to make an excuse to call here.
And Carlos does call to put Bechtel at risk. Bechtel with the best hand right now.
Bechtel's got the best of it in a race situation here. Carlos a bit loose with his chips.
And Carlos the second short stack at the table, so quite a commitment to this hand. Flop now is ace, tray, 4. Pair of 7s are still good for Jim.
You probably can't tell from looking at Jim Bechtel's face whether the flop helped or hurt him. It didn't hurt him.
Turn card now, another ace. Mortensen's going to have to catch on the river.
You probably can't tell from looking at Jim Bechtel's face whether the turn helped or hurt him. It didn't hurt him. Mortensen's going to need a king or a queen to knock out Jim Bechtel.
River card is an 8, and Jim Bechtel with aces up, doubles up.
You probably can't tell from looking at Jim Bechtel's face whether he won or lost the hand. He won the hand.
At the expense of Carlos Mortensen, who seems to give away chips as quickly as he wins them.
Isn't that a pretty tally?
Carlos is the #1 poker chip architect.
Well, Carlos, you have quite a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
Carlos wouldn't mind getting off the roller coaster and into the little red Corvette parked right now on the floor of the Rio Poker Room. That is the prize that awaits our champion tonight, along with the Binion Cup. Action on Carlos. Carlos was the chip leader in the main event on day 1 in 2000. He did not cash, went on to win the next year. He's got ace-queen.
I hate ace-queen, probably more than I hate Twitter.
A raise to 2,500 from Carlos. Varkonyi gives it up, as does McEvoy. Dan Harrington says nope.
Maybe Dan doesn't know the hat is askew.
Jim Bechtel with pocket trays in the big blind.
Bechtel says he's a businessman first, poker player second, and he's very comfortable with that decision.
Took a lot of chips off Carlos in the previous hand with a pocket pair. He makes the call here. Flop now is ace, tray, 4. Bechtel with a set of trays. Mortensen with a pair of aces.
Do you see why I hate ace-queen?
Bechtel slow plays his set.
You know, by the way, if Carlos Mortensen doesn't ever see another ace, he'll be a better man for it. He's going to bet here, and he's drawn thin.
Yep, bets 4,000 with the second best hand, which is top pair.
Bechtel has a very low metabolism at the poker table. It's possible he has no pulse.
He flat calls. He'll try to get all of Carlos's chips in this hand, I guess. 9 of diamonds. Bechtel earns the check mark with that set. And checks again.
Well, Carlos got to like his hand. Top pair with a good kicker.
8,000.
Makes it 8,000.
8,000.
You probably can't tell from looking at Jim Bechtel's face whether or not he has the check mark line. He does have the check mark next to his name.
He says raise. He's going to pounce now. A raise enough to put Mortensen all in.
I call.
Carlos calls, drawing dead.
Carlos calls.
Bechtel will take all of those chips and will say goodbye to Carlos Mortensen.
Over 2 black trays.
Nice to play with you guys.
It has not been a good day for the one-time chip leader, and calling off his chips against the tightest player here is going to end his day.
I'm going to be all in on the river anyway.
Jim Bechtel took a bite out of Carlos' stack with a pocket pair and then knocked him out with another one.
I believe Jim Bechtel won that hand.
Well, that is how Carlos Mortensen plays the game. A big stack one moment, no stack the next. 5th place for the 2001 World Champion. So from an exclusive field of 20, now just 4 players remain. Can Jim Bechtel keep up the momentum? Will Robert Varkonyi's patience pay off? Can Tom McEvoy add more to his stack? Or will Dan Harrington ride the chip lead all the way to the title? Next time, one of these four men will be riding away in that Corvette with the Binion Cup and the title Champion of Champions. For Norman Chad, I'm Lon McCarran. Thanks for watching the World Series of Poker.
Dodge bullets, baby.
This is beyond fairy tale. It's inconceivable.
There it is. Doyle's done it. Eastgate steps into poker history. This is the greatest sport in the world. Yeah! Win the main event and you have nothing left to prove. Or do you? Ask Robert Varkonyi. Since winning the title in 2002, he's spent the last 7 years fending off the fluke label.
I'm gunning for everybody. I'm looking to win first place, take down the car and the cup.
Ask Tom McEvoy. The 1983 main event champion is the owner of 4 bracelets, but hasn't won a World Series event in 17 years.
I want it more than anybody else. It's time that I kind of reestablish myself as a player.
Ask Jim Bechtel. Since '93, he hasn't won a major title. And now, for Bechtel, his motivation is simple.
It's the bragging rights. It's to be able to look across the table at the rest of the champions and just let them know that you thumped them.
You can even ask Dan Harrington. Since '95, he's solidified his place among the game's legends by making back-to-back main event final tables. But he hasn't seen the World Series winner's circle in 14 years and knows how special this title is.
I prepared for winning this tournament. There are like 800 bracelets, and there's going to be one cup.
4 main event champions remain, each with something left to prove. But only one will earn the title, Champion of Champions. Welcome to the World Series of Poker, presented by Jack Link's Beef Jerky with Norman Chad. I'm Lon McCarran. On each and every wall of the Rio Poker Room hang the banners of past main event champions. 34 players have won the main event, and to celebrate this 40th annual World Series, 20 past winners came to play in this special Champions Invitational Tournament. Now, only 4 players remain, and they are focused on taking home the prestigious Binion Cup. And with Jack Binion himself looking on, each of these men hope they will be the one to win this championship and claim the title, Champion of Champions. Norman, let's meet the final 4.
2002 champion Robert Varkonyi is the short stack with 18% of the chips in play. Third in chips is the quiet farmer from Arizona, 1993 champion Jim Bechtel.
The most decorated champion at the table is Tom McEvoy. He has 4 World Series bracelets and 56,700 chips. And donning his signature green Red Sox cap, Dan Harrington is the leader with 64,000 chips.
You could call this the gentleman of poker, 4 class acts. Varkonyi, the youngest here at age 47.
Blinds at 501,000 on the Jack Link's Beef Jerky Pocket Cam.
I love beef jerky.
Robert Varkonyi, ace tray of clubs, and a raise to 3,000. Tom McEvoy now, ace king offsuit.
McEvoy first got hooked on the idea of playing poker for a living when he came to Las Vegas in 1977 for a table tennis tournament.
Right.
And he will hit back here with a raise to 9,000.
I can tell you from my personal experience, Lon, there is no money in ping pong.
Harrington from the small blind folds Queen Jack in the big blind. Jim Bechtel. Bechtel with pocket kings.
When he was in college, Bechtel read about Amarillo Slim and Doyle Brunson winning the World Series and decided to give it a go.
Bechtel is going to re-raise
20,000 more
to a total of 29,000.
Yeah, the farmer's got a hand.
And a big pot developing kings against ace king.
I'd say that safely puts me in 3rd place.
Robert folds, employing the gap concept, realizing his opponents probably have stronger hands based on the 2 re-raises. Action on McEvoy.
All in.
And he re-raises all in.
McEvoy with a 2-handed push into a deep hole.
That all in would put Bechtel to the ultimate test.
I call.
And a call all in from Jim Bechtel.
2 kings.
I'm surprised McEvoy didn't realize he was behind. Bechtel's tight. He figures he had aces or kings, and he's coming over the top of two players who already had raised.
Rooting Tom on in the middle, poker pro Kathy Liebert.
I'd seen you make that play before, like I'm making a play on him, and then you're coming over the top of both of us, but this is not the time.
Well, McEvoy with some history with Bechtel and a misread. Bechtel now at risk, but in a great position to double up and become chip leader.
All right, here we go to the flop. McEvoy not looking comfortable. And the flop. Oh, and there's an ace for McEvoy, putting a big hurt on Bechtel.
And Bechtel about to be swept out of here by McEvoy's misstep.
And Tom knows he got very fortunate in that flop.
Well, if McEvoy were to lose this hand, he'd be down to about 12,000 chips.
Now Bechtel looking for help. On the turn, it's a 5, no help.
Clubs, no help to Jim. He'll be looking for the case king on the river.
Tom McEvoy about to become chip leader. Jim Bechtel needs the last king in the deck, or he is out of here.
River card now is a 10, and that's going to do it. A flop pair of aces for McEvoy knocks off Jim Bechtel in 4th place.
I totally misread you and got real lucky.
McEvoy's misstep leads to Bechtel's misfortune.
So close for Jim Bechtel.
I got real lucky.
Jim Bechtel was that close to doubling up with his kings and becoming chip leader.
You probably can't tell if Jim Bechtel's been knocked out of the tournament. He has.
Tom McEvoy now the overwhelming leader, over 106,000 chips. He got a lucky break, but each of our remaining 3 knows it will take a little luck and all their poker skills to claim the Binion Cup.
Norman, the remaining players, of course, do not lack for poker skills, world champions all. And since they've each won millions of dollars on the felt, you would think that playing for just a car and a trophy would not get their competitive juices flowing. Well, think again.
First of all, Lon, this is not just any car, it's a vet. You put me behind the wheel of that baby, I'll be picking up women like Eric Lindgren. And this is not just any title. You become champion of champions. That would mean a lot to Tom McEvoy. He's gone nearly 2 decades without a bracelet and feels he's lost the respect of the poker world. Tonight, he believes he can win it back.
Tom McEvoy is the elder statesman at this table at age 64, closely followed by the 2005 champion Dan Harrington, while the kid at the table happens to be the 02 world champ 47-year-old Robert Varkonyi.
Let's hope the old saying, youth will be served, doesn't hold true here.
How about youth will be lucky?
How old are you now, Robert?
I am 47 now.
47, and you're the young guy.
But I have a young wife and a 3-year-old and 6-year-old daughter that keep me even younger, I hope.
This is a new-look Robert Varkonyi, and you know I hate change.
Since his win, Robert has cashed just once in the main event, as has his wife, Olga. Robert's the short stack here.
And we now have 3 gentlemen of poker left.
Action will begin on Tom McEvoy. McEvoy looks down at King 5 into the muck. Dan Harrington with a couple of 10s.
I wish he would shift the brim of that cap just a little to his left. It drives me crazy.
A raise to 3,500. To Varkonyi with a couple of aces.
And he wears his cap just about right.
Varkonyi will call only for 2,500 more.
Anytime I've played with Robert Varkonyi and he clears his throat, he has a big pocket pair.
8-4 trade, no help to Harrington.
Well, both players have an overpair to the board, so this could be some trouble.
Dan Harrington, first to act, comes out with 4,500.
Anytime I've played with Dan Harrington, when he bets 4,500 into a pot of 7,300, he's got pocket 10s.
Now, what game are you playing with Dan Harrington?
You know.
Varkonyi with the aces.
Well, this is a Yankee-Red Sox clash. ESPN must like that.
Just a smooth call.
Varkonyi sits on those aces again.
Turn card now. 5 of spades. Harrington still in need. Robert picks up a gut shot straight draw.
Varkonyi's got Harrington leading out and drawing thin.
12,000 now from Dan.
I'm all in.
All in from Varkonyi. Olga on pins and needles.
Well, Harrington's got to like his overpair. This could get messy.
Call.
Dan makes the call.
No.
No, yes, you got him.
Oh, wow.
Dan is in trouble.
Dan turns
Varkonyi on the edge of doubling up.
It's only the best hand right now, Robert.
The MIT guy reels in the big-time poker author. Well done.
Olga Varkonyi loves that, but they still have to fade the river.
I thought he had like ace-5 or something like that.
I tried to persuade you that's what I have.
Yeah, good play.
Thank you.
Varkonyi looks pleased with himself, as he should be. Harrington can only knock him out with a river 10.
And the river card is a harmless trade. Varkonyi will double up.
Nice play from Robert Varkonyi.
Bad luck for Harrington. He had a big pocket pair, but ran into the biggest.
Here comes Olga. I don't like seeing that. I don't mind a happy couple, but leave it at home, pal. Jeez.
Nice play.
Thank you.
So Harrington takes a hit while Varkonyi extracts maximum value from his aces to put him back in the hunt.
The World Series of Poker, 40th Annual Memories.
Action Dan's back-to-back final tables in the main event.
That's probably the biggest accomplishment in the World Series in the whole entire 40 years.
Last year, a field of 839. This year, a field of 2,576. Incredible.
Making back-to-back final tables in just massive fields after having already been a champion. He's such an incredible player.
It's all about survival.
I think that the run that Dan Harrington made would be something that'll never be matched again.
The best accomplishment in World Series history.
At the 03 main event, when it was down to three-handed, Dan says he was so tired he couldn't figure out how to bet $75,000 when he had $25,000 in nomination chips in front of him.
All right, here's how our final three stack up. McEvoy on top. Varkonyi has made a lot of progress. Harrington, the short stack. Champions Invitational here in the Rio Poker Room. Action begins on Dan Harrington with Queen Jack.
Dan was a bankruptcy attorney for years. As a rule, I don't talk to lawyers.
A raise to 3,000. Ace-5 offsuit for Varkonyi.
Varkonyi is an equities trader. I don't talk to them either.
He calls from the small blind. McEvoy.
McEvoy used to be an accountant. They're okay, I guess.
Yeah, 10 tray into the muck. So heads up Varkonyi and Harrington again. The flop, King 5-8. Varkonyi hits bottom pair. Reaches for chips immediately, 3,000.
Varkonyi says, I'll just take the pot right here if you don't mind.
I think Dan minds.
I raise.
Raise.
Yeah, from the button, he is going to push back.
Robert made it 3,000. Dan says 9 more.
Well, Dan's got nothing. But, you know, it's actually easier for a rock to bluff and steal pots because people always give him credit for having a hand. This is Dan Harrington's MO, I believe.
And going up against another rock should strengthen Dan's play.
The Red Sox-Yankees rivalry reheats. And now if Varkonyi comes back over the top here, I might have to go out there and kiss him. Do it, Robert.
Varkonyi gives up the best hand right now. Harrington steals that pot.
Yeah, he's more action Dan than you think.
Harrington got a lot of respect from the 02 world champ right there. So it's a 3-man horse race, all gunning for the Binion Cup and that 1970 Corvette parked inside the Rio Poker Room. Well, Norman, it's time for the Jack Link's Beef Jerky wild card hand, where we can seal one player's hole cards, and you at home can test your poker reading skills.
Well, I have no poker reading skills, Lon, but I'll practice them here.
All right. Action begins on Tom McEvoy. McEvoy, the chip leader right now. And he does have the Jack Link's wild card hand, so he is your target.
I can't see his cards, Lon.
No, you're not supposed to. McEvoy, whatever he has, makes a raise to 3,000.
Well, he raises 3 times the big blind. We're 3-handed, so he could have anything. He could be holding 2 tickets to Penn and Teller for all I know.
Well, he can't be holding the 8-4 of diamonds as they're into the muck. Robert Varkonyi, ace-5 again, suited this time.
I believe Varkonyi has ace-5 suited, Lon.
From the big blind, he makes the call.
Well, I'm going to put McEvoy on pocket 8s.
All right,
pocket 8s. He looks like he has pocket 8s.
All right, write it down. 10-4 ace. Varkonyi hits a pair of aces in the flop. Varkonyi first to act.
Pocket 8s, look at him.
What do you think McEvoy has at home, folks? Varkonyi with a bet of 5,000. McEvoy immediately calls.
He calls so quickly. I'm no longer putting him on pocket 8s line. I think he's holding better. For some reason, I usually believe someone with a well-groomed beard has a hand.
Okay. Queen of diamonds on the turn. That does not hit Varkonyi.
Well, Varkonyi's got a good hand 3-handed, but you can never be comfortable with ace-rag.
I check.
And he checks. Not comfortable. McEvoy, though, reaches for chips right away.
12,000.
12,000.
He's acting quickly again. Now, remember, McEvoy raised pre-flop, so he might have an ace, or maybe he had pocket tens or pocket fours and flopped a set. I'd be very worried right now if I was Robert Varkonyi. You know, then again, you know, McEvoy could just be bluffing. He's acting strong. He's showing strength. Maybe he's got squadouche.
Never trust what a poker player says or does. Bottom line.
Well, the bottom line is I originally thought Tom had pocket eights. I now believe he has pocket fours and flopped a set.
I actually have something.
Well, I have something too. Bills up the wazoo. It does look like Varkonyi's contemplating laying down top pair here.
Robert on the fence, reluctant to make a decision, but finally lays down the ace. McEvoy with ace-6. Wow, he had Varkonyi outkicked.
Lonnie had ace-6 off. I knew it.
You are always perfect in hindsight, Mr. Chad. How about you at home? Did you figure McEvoy for the bigger ace on the Jack Link's beef jerky wild card hand? Well, the chip leader McEvoy gets stronger, but what a good laydown by Varkonyi. Back in the Rio poker room, Robert Varkonyi perhaps getting some in-game tips from his poker coach J.P. Masser on the right and his wife Olga. All three remaining players know what it's like to wear the World Championship bracelet. There's the 2009 main event hardware. Our coverage of the main event begins on August 18th. The prize on the line tonight is the Binion Cup. I wonder if the Corvette keys are inside there.
You know, Lon, that cup serves 24.
Perfect for serving all your wedding parties.
Good for you.
McEvoy folds 10-5 on Harrington now. Jack 10 offsuit.
Harrington and Chris Moneymaker actually played at the very first table together to open the 2003 main event, and then they played at the final table together.
Harrington limped in. Varkonyi, king deuce from the big blind, checks his option.
And of course, the year before that, Varkonyi had won his main event.
All right, now the flop, 7, king 9. Varkonyi with top pair. Harrington with a double gut shot straight draw. Harrington reaching. 1,200 from Dan.
Lots of ways to win for Harrington. You know, his bet may take the pot right there. It's not going to. And even if he doesn't make his straight, he might figure pairing his jack or 10 would be good enough.
Now Varkonyi with top pair with a raise to 3,600.
Then again, that raise sends a message to Dan that he's probably behind at the moment.
Two chess players testing each other here. Dan says a lot of his poker theories came from chess. Robert's daughter wanted to learn cards, but he insisted she learn to play chess first. Dan with a call of 2,400.
At this final table, the players will only speak if spoken to.
Turn card is a tray of diamonds. No help to Harrington, and he does check. Is that the white flag?
Well, Varkonyi's firing away like he's Jabba Chamberlain.
Varkonyi does bet 7,000.
Well, Harrington had showed weakness. Varkonyi likes his hand. And Harrington's really not getting the right price here to draw to his straight. He's a 4-to-1 dog and would be only getting a little more than 2-to-1 on a call here.
And Harrington gives it up. Varkonyi wins it with the kings.
Dan lays it down like a gentleman. This is gentleman's poker, Lon.
So Robert continues to get the better of Harrington here at the champions final table, but the modest main event champ won't let success on the felt go to his head because his family always keeps him grounded.
Varkonyi, the new World Series of Poker champion 2002.
Winning $2 million was a very good feeling. Olga and I were so surprised. It felt like a total out-of-body experience. And to this day, we still can't believe I won this thing. We do a few autographs and photographs. We go back home to normal, quiet life. We love it and have a lot of fun with it.
Well, what a great run for the Varkonyis in 2002. They had found their dream home. They were pregnant with their first child, and then Robert won the main event.
Continuing three-handed, for the Binion Cup. Action on Dan Harrington. Dan looks down at 8-4, trying to get something going three-handed. 8-4 won't help. Robert Varkonyi now. Robert looks down at ace-king offsuit.
Robert's best finish in the main event since winning is 177th in 2007.
Raised to 3,500. Tom McEvoy with king-9 offsuit.
McEvoy was a 10-20 limit hold'em player when he won the main event in 1983. And of course, Varkonyi was an amateur, both of them trying to prove themselves again.
Heads up here, a king hits both. Varkonyi has top pair, top kicker.
Good news for Varkonyi, bad news for McEvoy.
Check. Robert checks. McEvoy comes out with 5,000.
Well, once again, we see Varkonyi sitting on a big hand and letting his opponent lead the action.
Cool. Varkonyi just calls.
This is a Yankee Confederate duel.
You're working the hat strong, Norman. A deuce on the turn. McEvoy gets no help. Varkonyi checked the flop. Check. And he checks here.
So this time Varkonyi can't induce another bet out of McEvoy.
They both check the turn. It's a 3 of hearts. That misses McEvoy. You see Varkonyi with the check mark. Harrington would have hit a straight had he stuck around.
He had 8-4, remember.
No way he's going to stick around. Varkonyi bets 5,000 here. McEvoy again with a quick call. Varkonyi outkicks it.
Had a king too.
Robert Varkonyi is playing the part of a poker pro once a year pretty well.
Had Tom the whole way.
Oh, God, I should have played the 8-4.
Should have re-raised with the 8-4.
No, I wanted to trap you guys.
Oh.
Robert enjoying a run of good fortune, hoping to outlast 2 other champions and claim this title.
The World Series of Poker, presented by Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Champions Invitational.
Parked in the Rio Poker Room, the vintage 1970 Corvette that will be awarded to the winner of this Champions Invitational. 1970, of course, the inaugural year of the World Series of Poker.
I once had a red Vette, but I went off-road with it, and it got dirty.
Oh, do not go off-road with all that fiberglass. All right. Tom McEvoy with pocket jacks. He's been pretty quiet since he knocked out Jim Bechtel.
These gentlemen of poker all wear hats that would never be on my head.
Why so little?
Why so little?
I'm just kidding.
4,600 is the raise from Tom.
When Tom won the 83 main event, he wore a black cowboy hat.
Pocket sixes for Dan Harrington.
Action Dan wears the same Red Sox cap 90% of the time. He's got only one other hat he uses, he says.
I raised.
A re-raise from Harrington with the sixes. Makes it 18,600 to go.
Dan pushing with the pocket pair, but he's in trouble in this spot.
Varkonyi peaks at 10-4 offsuit.
I raise an additional all in.
Oh, hang on, Tom. Not your turn.
Oh, Christ. I'm sorry. I forgot.
That wasn't gentlemanlike, but it was an accident.
All right. Wasn't going to make a difference. Wasn't going to make a difference.
Robert folds.
All in.
McEvoy pushes, which would put Harrington all in.
McEvoy was hyper anxious to get all his chips in. It looked like he was ready to risk his mortgage, his retirement fund, his kids, and his 3 cats on his hand. Harrington knows at best he'd be racing for all his remaining chips.
Pocket pair, 3-handed.
I'm going to give it to you, Tom.
And the sixes go into the muck. And McEvoy wins it with a big bet and pocket jacks.
Gentlemen poker, a good disciplined laydown from Action Dan.
Tom a little over anxious right there, but perhaps not quite as anxious as he was when he met his poker idol Doyle Brunson over 30 years ago.
Doyle, he was my personal hero. When he came out with Super System, it was 1978, and I didn't know where to find it.
He came to the publishing company where we produced Super System.
So I walk in, and there's nobody there except this one guy, and it's Doyle. And it's like, oh my God, you know, my idol.
And I'll never forget this big country-looking guy came in with this big black hat.
And he said, I'd like to buy the book. And then I pointed my finger and said, one of these days, I says, I'm going to be sitting at the same table with you. You just wait and see.
I said, okay, good luck to you, buddy. And sure enough, it happened.
1983 was, of course, the year I won the main event. That was the last year Doyle made the final table, the main event. Here I'm this raw rookie that's challenging the man.
Tom was kind of bullying the game. I do remember telling him that, you know, we're trying to be careful here, but if you keep that up, we're going to play a pot.
I didn't bust Doyle, although I won a chunk of his chips. I've played Doyle many times over the years and have a lot of respect for him. Doyle is still the man.
Doyle was third that year, and Tom McEvoy beat Rod Pete in a 7-hour heads-up duel, longest in main event history.
Action on Robert Varkonyi. Looks down at Queen 5 offsuit. 20 main event champions began this invitational event down to the final 3. Winners from the last 3 decades, 1983, 95, and 2002. A raise to 5,000. McEvoy folds. Dan Harrington, winner from 1995 with Queen 10.
The year Dan won, Barbara Enright became the only woman to ever make the final table, the big one. She finished 5th.
Dan needs 3,400 more to make the call, and he does. From the big blind, he'll go heads up against Robert Varkonyi. Harrington has Robert outkicked. And there's a queen for both. Harrington with the better kicker.
They look unemotional, Lon, but inside they're just a couple of 8-year-olds who can't wait to get onto that Ferris wheel.
Harrington checks.
Dan checks over to Robert.
And now Robert. We've seen Robert flop top pair, and he does it again here and bets 10,000.
Well, it's interesting. We've seen Varkonyi let his opponents lead out when he's ahead, and now the tables are turned on him. It's Harrington right now trying to recall page 137 of his own book.
I'm all in.
Dan comes over the top, all in for his last 26,000 and change.
Flush draw, Dan.
Would Dan move all in on a flush draw? I haven't gotten to that chapter yet in Harrington on Hold'em.
This is a close one, Dan.
It is. Robert gives up top pair, and rightly so.
Yeah, good laydown, even though Robert's not so sure. 3 times today we have seen him with top pair, and he has made the right decision in each hand.
Yeah, Robert is not a full-time player, but he's playing a solid game tonight.
Not such an easy game.
Never easy.
Action Dan, for a guy who doesn't even drive, he really seems to want that Corvette. Back in the Rio Poker Room, the prestigious Binion Cup, the object of desire for our final 3 players, a trophy to be awarded to the winner of this Champions Invitational by Jack Binion himself, and there is Jack. Jack was there at the very first World Series tournament in 1970. Looks like he's giving some words of encouragement to Dan Harrington, who has just under 50,000 chips. Robert Varkonyi currently the short stack, while the biggest stack right now is that of Tom McEvoy with over 112,000. McEvoy looks down at King 8 of spades.
Among McEvoy's books he's written, Championship Hold'em, Championship Tournament Poker, Championship Hold'em Satellite Strategy, there's nothing really in there for me. You know, I like a book with a good shaggy dog story, maybe a murder mystery.
McEvoy with the raise to 4,500. Pocket trays for Dan Harrington.
Harrington, of course, has 3 volumes of Harrington on Hold'em.
And Dan has announced a re-raise.
Not enough pictures in his books for me.
Dan's re-raise is going to make it 19,000 for Robert to play. Robert's going to play pocket aces.
Oh, geez, Harrington not lucky today. He again has a pocket pair at the same time. Varkonyi's got pocket aces.
Yeah, pocket 10s last time.
All right. I'm all in.
And Robert, a re-raise all in for his final 36.5. McEvoy folded, and boy, that all in got Olga's attention.
I'd like to get her attention.
Settle down, Norman. Dan needs a little more than 17,000 to call.
So the raise is what?
This. All right, go ahead.
Tough spot for Harrington.
I call.
He does call, though. This does put Varkonyi at risk, but he's way ahead with the aces.
Yeah, the Yankees dominating the Red Sox tonight.
And their entire lifetime series going back 100 years. All right, Olga loves to see the aces again, but anything's possible.
I sure picked a nice time to raise the button.
What did you have? Nothing.
A suited king.
All right, that's three-handed hand.
I wonder if Robert ever read Moby Dick, because he's reeling in the big white whale again.
All right, here we go to the flop. Varkonyi at risk, 8-10 deuce. He loves that flop.
No threat to Varkonyi's pocket aces on that board.
Deuce and spades. No help to Dan.
I'm glad we got you out of the way.
If I'd seen this flop, I would probably had a gamble.
Yeah, McEvoy would have had a spade draw and a pair of eights.
Right now, Harrington trying to find something to overcome the aces of Robert Varkonyi. A jack of hearts, Varkonyi looking to double up.
Now, Varkonyi now one card away from doubling up and crippling Dan Harrington. He's looking to dodge a 3 on the river.
River card is a 5, and Varkonyi once again doubles through Dan Harrington.
He's going to double up.
How many times have you had aces at the last table today?
I think you've seen all the times I've had them.
And Dan Harrington says enough with the aces and Varkonyi. Let's take a look at the chip counts after that double up. McEvoy in the lead, Varkonyi in great shape, not far behind, but you see Dan Harrington crippled down to 10,700.
Harrington with just 5% of the chips. Heck, 5% is the most I've ever had in a tournament. Welcome to my world, Dan.
Action will start on Robert Varkonyi. Lines at 800 at 1,600. Varkonyi with another small ace tray of clubs.
You know, I think if Varkonyi was wearing this very outfit 15 years ago, he could have gotten George Costanza's job as assistant to the traveling secretary of the New York Yankees.
Varkonyi with the button. X first and limps in for 1,600. McEvoy looks down at Queen 8 off. McEvoy gives it up over to Harrington in the big blind. And short stacked King 10 offsuit.
I'm all in.
Going to take a stand now. A raise to 10,500 total.
Now, these two have been fencing a lot, and Varkonyi's had the better record tonight.
Robert needs 8,900 to call. And he does with the weak ace.
Well, the weak ace is better than the king.
I had a legitimate raise. I thought I had a legitimate raise against you.
Harrington running real rough.
I wasn't sure what to do with that hand, but I had a feeling you would go all in either way, so.
Yeah, I wasn't throwing the hand away. It was too good a hand.
Whatever, what are we, 55-45 or something?
Actually, 60-40. These guys don't know math.
Come on, give him an ace with a queen and a jack.
Okay, that's fair.
Here's the flop. It is King, Deuce, Queen. Harrington catches the king to take the lead.
All right, a couple more clubs and we're good.
Very friendly, low-key all-ins with the gentleman of poker.
Turn card now is a jack. Both players with straight draws.
All right, give him his ace.
Give him my 10. Give him his 10.
Give him his ace.
Give him his 10. Give him the 10.
With the right card, Olga could see Robert go heads up.
10 would give Varkonyi a straight and knock out Dan Harrington.
See the river card, please.
The river card is a 9 and a king high straight for Harrington, and he will
Very
double
nice.
up through Varkonyi.
Good hand, Action Dan.
This is old-fashioned friendly poker among 3 world champions.
Come on, Tom, a little more enthusiasm with that
All right,
clapping.
good
Thank you.
hand, good hand, good hand.
Good hand, Action Dan.
Thank you.
The comeback. Comeback man.
Robert talking in rhyme now.
Well, the next one I beat with an all-in, they're going to feel a little bit of pain.
Huh?
If I beat the next person with an all-in, they'll feel a little bit of pain this time around.
He's still on life support right now, but Action Dan just got a little more dangerous.
The World Series of Poker, presented by Jack Link's Beef Jerky, Player of the Year.
Everyone is, of course, in contention for Player of the Year at the start of the World Series, but it was early victories that propelled a few to the top of the standings.
Yeah, baby!
2 unknowns, Billy Walbeck and Brock Parker, both captured their first bracelets during the first part of the 2009 World Series, but it was a silent star that had everyone talking. People consider Phil Ivey the best player on the planet. His cash game exploits are legendary, and coming into the World Series, he had 5 bracelets to back up his tournament skills. And Ivey made it 6 after winning the 2,500 deuce to 7 low ball event, earning points towards the 2009 Player of the Year and earning more props as one of the greatest players in the history of the game.
Well, if Phil Ivey wants to do me a favor, how about showing up at the main event with some fire in your eye? I pick him every year, and all he does is spit in my face.
See Vitaly Lunkin in third place. He, of course, won the 40K event, which was seen here on ESPN. All right, back to our special invitational tournament. 3 former main event champions vying for the title. Robert Varkonyi on the Jack Link's Beef Jerky Pocket Cam.
Beef jerky.
He's got ace 10. Robert has seen a lot of aces in his starting hands tonight. A raise to 4,500. McEvoy, Jack 6.
You know, McEvoy's just slowing up the game now. Varkonyi and Harrington should really just go get their own dealer and go at it alone.
Tom folded. Harrington with 8-6 in the big blind.
Where is it?
And announces a raise with that.
Action Dan is action. 8-6 off.
Dan put in the chips for the call. How much does he want to raise?
I go all in.
Wow, he's going to push everything in.
How much?
And Dan has over 27,000 chips right now.
Well, it seems like a what the heck. I'm tired all in from Action Dan. He's got 15 big blinds left.
He's got more chips than he had last time he went all in, so he could do a little more damage to Varkonyi this time.
Well, he warned that he could do more damage, but you know, Varkonyi's not going to automatically call here because there's more chips involved, but he's got a stronger ace than he did last time, so I think he'll put Harrington at risk.
23 even.
Varkonyi needs 22-8 to make the call.
Just thinking about it. You know, maybe Varkonyi has heard my new motto, there's no place for an ace.
It's an interesting proposition, Dan.
Dan saying fold, fold. And he does fold.
Needless to say, not Varkonyi's best read of the night. He had Harrington on a bigger ace or a big pocket pair.
Mostly good folds from Varkonyi tonight, but Harrington with his push there got Varkonyi to fold the better hand. He has to feel fortunate about that.
And it was a small gift for a tired man.
All right, action resumes on Tom McEvoy, our chip leader. He looks down at King, Queen of Diamonds.
Is McEvoy allowed to play without the hat? We were both in the same jacuzzi the other night, and he never took it off.
McEvoy with a raise to 4,500. Harrington with pocket nines.
I'm going to raise.
Dan announces a raise.
Well, certainly, if we saw Dan raise all in with the 8-6 off, pocket nines must feel like quads.
Harrington with the re-raise to 19-5. Now Varkonyi with 2 raises in front of him. He's in the big blind with King Deuce, and he folds. And McEvoy needs 15,000 more to call. And it looks like he will do just that.
When McEvoy won the 83 main event, he yelled out, "I did it, I did it." And he's getting closer and closer tonight to doing it again.
Heads up Harrington and McEvoy. Ace, Queen 4, McEvoy with a pair of queens. Harrington missed that flop.
I'm all in.
And Dan moves all in with his nines.
McEvoy outflopped Harrington, and Action Dan might be jumping into his final table coffin.
Harrington pushes with his final 15-7 and a prayer.
Well, this is pretty simple for Tom McEvoy. He's asking himself right now, does Dan have an ace? If he thinks Harrington has the ace, he mucks. If he doesn't think Harrington has the ace, he's going to call.
Tom, of course, the chip leader. And he makes the call. He'll take the gamble. Harrington shows him the nines, and queens are way ahead.
Now McEvoy on the verge of going heads up against Varkonyi.
Good hand.
And he knows he'll need his hat on heads up.
Ooh, doggy.
Dan loved to see the pocket pair pre-flop, but it now limits his outs.
Great call, Tom. Great call.
2 queens.
All right, Tom. Come on.
Looking for a 9.
Now Action Dan has been reduced to saying good hand to a lot of people, and Tom McEvoy in great shape.
All right. 9.
Yep.
And it could even be a diamond.
Well, a 9 is going to be Dan Harrington's only out. He'll have 2 shots at it.
And now the turn card. It is an 8, and it looked like the 9. Harrington 1 card from going home.
A scare card.
All right, Dan looking for one of the
Dan Harrington needs a 9, and a 9 only, or he'll be our 3rd place finisher.
The 95 champ hoping for a miracle on the river, but it does not come. McEvoy wins the hand. Dan Harrington eliminated in this Champions Invitational in 3rd place.
Action Dan always seems to acquit himself well under the brightest lights.
A well-earned round of applause from everyone here in the Rio Poker Room as Dan Harrington hits the rail. So now we are heads up. Just 2 men remain. Champion against champion. 1983 main event winner Tom McEvoy against 2002 main event winner Robert Varkonyi. Only one man can win this prestigious event and claim the title, Champion of Champions. Welcome back to the Rio Poker Room. We are on the verge of crowning the winner of the Champions Invitational Tournament.
Tom McEvoy and Robert Varkonyi, each looking for some validation, each able to cash in the main event only once since winning the title. That has frustrated them.
Robert has some work to do. He is at a 2-to-1 chip disadvantage, and the Binion Cup is what they're playing for, the grand prize after an amazing journey. This special Champions Invitational Tournament began with 20 main event winners who own a staggering 71 World Series bracelets, a field like no other. 10 men made it to the final table, but after several eliminations, including a few poker legends, just 2 men remain. 2002 champ Robert Varkonyi and 1983 champion Tom McEvoy, each hoping to win the title, Champion of Champions.
When we started this Champions Invitational, I don't think anyone expected these two to be the last ones standing, but they have earned it.
All right, Tom McEvoy looks down and sees pocket aces. You know, Norman, pocket aces have never been the winning hand for a main event champion, but have been on the losing end of heads up twice.
I did not know that.
A raise to 5,000 from McEvoy. Ace 5 again for Varkonyi. And a call.
1 ace, no good. 2 aces, very good.
And now the flop. Jack 6 king. McEvoy's aces, as you see, are a huge favorite. Varkonyi
10.
We'll take a stab for 10,000.
20.
20,000.
McEvoy with a min raise to 20.
Varkonyi has what we colloquially call in the business a 1% hand. It's also known as the Norman Chad. And do you know what you always do with the Norman Chad, Lon?
Sue for divorce?
Good for you.
Well, Robert would be wise to dump this ace because he's brought a knife to a gunfight.
There's no place for an ace.
2 aces, a different ballgame.
Actually, 1 ace is usually terrific in heads up, but not in that spot.
So McEvoy draws a few chips off the stack of Robert Varkonyi. The Binion Cup, along with that 1970 Corvette, will be the prizes for tonight's champion. They cost about $5,000 new. Right now, Norman, they're going for upwards of $40,000.
Since we're now heads up, shouldn't a Corvette be on the table?
Good point. Lines at 1,000 and 2,000. McEvoy looks down at 10-9 offsuit.
McEvoy on the verge here of exercising some demons. It took 23 years after winning the main event to cash in it again.
He limped in. Varkonyi looks down at Jack 5.
Varkonyi, on the other hand, tucked away in his suburban Long Island life, but still would like to prove a little something here.
He checks his option and catches a 5 in the flop. McEvoy picks up an up and down straight draw.
Varkonyi's pair of 5s lead.
4,000.
And he leads out with 4,000. McEvoy not far behind.
You see from the percentages, almost a coin flip here after the flop.
Turn card is a 6, and that's bingo. McEvoy gets there, turning the straight.
That's a disaster card for Varkonyi.
Robert has a pair of 5s and a straight flush draw. McEvoy also with a straight flush draw.
8,000.
Well, McEvoy with the straight loves to see that bet in front of him.
16.
16.
McEvoy raises to 16,000.
I'm all in.
All in.
Oh, wow.
Call.
McEvoy's got Varkonyi right where he wants him.
Yeah, McEvoy calls with conviction, and he's on the brink of the championship.
And look at Tom. You get a great sense of what this means to him, and now he has to dodge one more card.
And it's just a 1-outer standing in his way.
Robert Varkonyi figuring his chances right now. Olga Varkonyi knows he's down to his last hope.
But you can see the pain in Varkonyi's face.
You wouldn't do this to me now, would you?
Well, with the 9 of clubs, they'd both make a straight flush, but McEvoy's would be higher. So Varkonyi can only win with the 4 of clubs to make an 8-high straight flush. Otherwise, Tom McEvoy is our champion.
And the river card is the king of clubs, and that will end the night. Varkonyi eliminated by the champion of champions, Tom McEvoy.
Tom McEvoy shot his arms up like that when he won the main event 26 years ago. He does it again tonight.
He made it no secret he sorely wanted to claim this title. He was a man seeking redemption. Mission accomplished.
My work here is done.
A good showing for Robert Varkonyi, and just as he did in 1983, Jack Binion congratulates Tom McEvoy. He's a champion once again. What began with 20 main event champions would end with one. On a night where Dan Harrington never picked up steam. And Robert Varkonyi couldn't cash in with his aces.
Right.
How many times have you had aces?
It was 1983 world champion Tom McEvoy who took down the tournament and claimed the title champion of champions.
So, Tom, you plowed through 19 donkeys to win this tournament. How'd you do it?
Because I hadn't won much lately. I think I was losing some respect among my peers, and I wanted to reestablish myself. I'm just determined that I was going to win it, and I did.
Now the title, the cup, and the car belong to Tom McEvoy. For Norman Chad, I'm Lon McCarran. Thanks for watching the World Series of Poker.